average, every corporate job opening attracts 250 resumes, but only 4 to 6 of these people will be called for an interview, and only 1 will be offered the job. Think about that for a minute. Only 4 to 6 people out of 250 will actually get a job interview when applying for a job in corporate America. And then only 1 of those out of the interview process will actually get a job offer. Securing an interview is hard work, but once you get one, you should be doing everything in your power to make it a successful one. I recently changed jobs, and while writing a resume was a daunting task for me, it was the interviews that really terrified me. I am very nervous and introverted, so speaking to new people, especially about myself, does not come naturally. My sister, who is very much the opposite of me, and had recently gone through the same process after graduating college, called to give me some advice before I went on an interview. She told me that the biggest part of the interview was the preparation. There are 3 parts to the timeline of an interview that you as the job seeker should be aware of. There's the pre-interview, the actual interview, and post-interview. Each of these time periods is equally important to a successful interview, and I am going to give you some tips on how to make the most out of each one. Picture this. You have updated your resume, Picture this. You have updated your resume, rewritten your cover letter, polished your skill list, and applied to what feels like 1,000 different job listings. You finally receive a call asking you to come in for an interview. This is what you have been waiting for. The thing you have worked years for is finally attainable, but a job interview can feel like the biggest obstacle yet in the pursuit of a career advancement. The idea of a job interview is frightening to many, but it doesn't have to be. There are some simple steps that can be taken to help you effectively prepare for a job interview. I hope to give you all some easy and applicable actions that can help to ease the stress that most of us feel before an interview. By looking at some of the research that has been conducted about powerful communication and successful interviews, you will be able to see the need for educated preparation before going into an interview. Through research, practice, and appropriate behavior during and after the interview, you will feel confident when faced with the obstacle that stands between you and obtaining the job you want. First, I will give you some guidance on how you should prepare pre-interview. Second, I will give you some tips on how to conduct yourself during the interview. And third, I will explain some of the appropriate actions that you should take post-interview. When it comes to preparing for an interview, research will be the most important aspect. Research. You have learned how to do this all through your education, and now it is time to put some effort in finding everything you can about the company that you are going to interview with. You can start simply by using a search engine such as Google or Bing to find some general information. But to really stand out in the interview, you are going to want to dig a little deeper. Career Services at Princeton University give some helpful hints on where to start your research. Use tools like Vault, Wetfeet, Career Search, or the Riley Guide for an overview of the organization and its industry profile. Make sure you are familiar with their products, their background, and their mission statement. Make sure you also go over the job skills that were listed when you applied for the job and align them with your resume. Knowing these things will not only be impressive to your interviewers, but will also help you in the next step of preparing for your interview, preparing for how to answer the difficult questions. Prepare by practice. The next step to take during the pre-interview phase is practicing how you respond to the questions that are asked during an interview. You will want to be prepared when you are asked to answer these questions so that you do not get flustered during the actual interview. Beth Burke published an article titled How to Ace the Most Challenging Job Interview Questions. And in it she states, during an interview, you may be asked a question that triggers an unexpected reaction or response. You may find yourself answering awkwardly or being unable to think of anything to say. Being properly prepared can help you when you're put on the spot. So what exactly is the best way to prepare for questions when you have no idea what you will be asked? You can do some research, because even though interview questions will vary, by practicing how you would answer a variety of challenging questions, you are preparing your brain to think about how to answer these type of questions. Some common questions that can be asked during an interview are, why do you want to work here? What is your biggest weakness? Why should we hire you? Why did you or are you leaving your previous job? What salary are you seeking? By going through these type of questions before the interview, you give yourself a chance to think through meaningful answers. These questions can be awkward, especially things like, what is your biggest weakness? And by preparing yourself to answer intelligently, you're giving yourself a head start to the interview. One last step pre-interview would be to make sure you have extra copies of your resume and references. The interview is often held by more than one person, and it looks very professional and prepared to be able to hand copies of your resume out during the interview. Remember, you only have a short time to make a good impression, and you are one of several people trying to obtain this job. It's the little things and details that you do that can make a lasting impression. The interview. Before you even get a chance to answer questions or present the reasons why you are right for the job, you make an impression. Make sure to make it a good one by first being punctual. Plan for obstacles like traffic or getting lost. Elisa Benz offers some insight into punctuality and dress in her article. Brush up your interview etiquette, saying, speaking of dress, always wear professional clothing, but within this, formality can vary. For companies with casual or no dress codes, often just a collared shirt and dress pants will make you look professional. If the company has a more formal dress code, you may need to wear a suit. As you can see, I am wearing a button-down shirt with a blazer, a suit coat, and you can't see them, but black dress pants. This is pretty safe interview attire. Be respectful of your interviewer's time. Arrive to the appointment a few minutes early, turn off your cell phone before the interview starts, and respond promptly to any follow-up phone calls or emails from the interviewer before the actual interview. As you can see, this comic is kind of how we all feel going into an interview. It shows a man coming in saying, have a seat, and the seat is in pieces. This is a comic about an IKEA job interview, and it basically shows that they want to see your skills. So you're going to need to present what skills you have that make you right for the job. During your interview, verbal and nonverbal communication matter equally. Communication often is not only about what is said, but mostly about how something is expressed verbally and non-verbally. Your handshake, your eye contact, the way you address your interviewers, respect and good-natured but polite tone. Use appropriate, intelligent vocabulary. You do not want to be using street slang when you're going in for a job interview. The way you would talk to your friends, you want to be presenting yourself in a professional manner. Take time to answer questions. Don't just spit out your answer. Take time, take a breath, think before you answer. Incorporate thoughtful nonverbal communication throughout the interview. For example, the firm handshake and smile to begin and end the interview. This really means something, because if you are not able to make eye contact and give a firm handshake to start the interview out, you're not showing confidence to your interviewers. In the same way that nonverbal communication can make or break a speech, eye contact, hand gestures, and facial expressions are just as important as words in an interview. Controlled hand movements and appropriate are appropriate. Controlled hand movements and appropriate language are important during the interview. All right. Post-interview.